Well, I started off life as a vet professionally. I wasn't a very good one, and I stuck at that for about 7 years. And I suddenly realised that vets don't actually make any money for producers; they just cost. And I decided I wanted to try and make money for them. So I sold my practice and walked away from being a vet, and gradually worked into being a consultant. And I've stuck with beef cattle and sheep, and I've been doing that for about 40 years or more now. It's sorely needed. Ian and I, with what we do day to day, can reach only a small percentage of the total beef producers out there. And we thought if we were to put something together that reported on the state of the industry, which has not been there at all in the form that we've written it, it's not been there, it's sorely needed. And so we decided that if we could get our message across on what matters and what doesn't, both in production and financial terms, it would get a better reach. So it was just part of the process of extension, really. When Ian and I produced the Northern Beef Report for Meat and Livestock Australia some years ago, I thought, oh, this is terrible. Oh, God, if we could get some southern data, the southern data will blow this away. When the southern data came through, it was worse. That was the biggest shock. I'm thinking, being based down here, we can run rings about you blokes in the north with our better soils and pastures and everything, but not so. And so that was my biggest shock, I guess. Over the years, I've been involved with lots of producer groups, and Ian is the same more recently. And one thing you learn when you pull a whole lot of producers into a room is that the collective wisdom in that room from the producers exceeds far and away what Ian and I can contribute. One of my lifetime ambitions was to have done a PhD, which I finally did. And the question in that was based on the arid rangelands environment, specifically Alice Springs, where I asked the question, is it possible to be concurrently both financially and environmentally sustainable out there with, in their case, beef production? And the results of that study showed that both the financial and environmental components were intertwined, just closely intertwined, and you can't have one without the other. It's all about barriers to entry. The only barrier to entry for pastoralism and beef production is financial capital at the moment. If you've got the money, you can go and buy something and start producing beef. I can't do that if I want to be a brain surgeon or an accountant or a lawyer or anyone else. I have to have qualifications. And not only that, I have to keep my skills and knowledge updated with professional development and have a sustainable pastoral industry. That has to be the case in the long term. You just can't have one barrier to entry being financial capital, because all these people come along thinking they can make a difference and do it better with no qualifications at all. And that's just not right. It's not. Especially here in Australia, and especially in the north, where the second driest continent on earth, with the shallowest, most infertile soils, we have to be very, very careful. And there's very little training for people who want to make a success of that and make it sustainable. It's the difference. Intellectual capital is the key difference between the best and the worst. How people think. So I have to 40 odd years of looking at benchmarking data and marrying up the results with where the people live, what they do, how they think. The primary issue here is how they think. And how they think is governed by how much training they've had, what's in their heads, and that all adds up to intellectual capital. It is valuable source of capital in the long run. You might say that if you've got enough money, you'll make it work. Not true, not true. You can see that money go out the door. If you've got good intellectual capital and you know how to make things work, that's the most important thing. And I cherish that more than anything else. And I'm so lucky because people out there who can put up with me for any length of time have so much of that, which is so good. Ian and I are free agents. We can say what we like and people can take it or leave it. But this report that describes the state of the industry has to be independent. It cannot be the result of someone writing a cheque for us to write it. It can't be. We have to say what we think, which we've done. There is a template in there. There is a lot of data and eventually a template that shows them the objective should be, a recipe for how to get there. We've alerted them to the things that matter, the things they have to look at to be successful. They've got to measure their performance. They have to concentrate on the areas of their business that make a difference, and it's up to them, really. We're just trying to shine a light on the path forward. That's all. It's up to the individual readers whether they want to pick that up and run with it or not. We're not dictating terms here or suggesting that we've got all the answers. We're just trying to enlighten on the basis of good, solid data.